we've been already talking about lots of different things to think about. If I'm going through my job search or starting my job search and I'm trying to think about what I should focus on from an upskilling standpoint, what suggestions do you have for me to prioritize? Like, there's 20 things I see that I quote unquote don't know. How do I think about what I should do first or how I should tackle it?
Because every job description is going to be a little bit different. The all companies are going to be a little bit different as far as the tools that they use. But I think as you go through, it's helpful to really keep track of what's consistent across all the different job descriptions that you're seeing to really hone in on like, okay, this is a foundational tool or core skill that I'm missing, but I've seen in the last 10 out of 15 job descriptions that I've gone through. Or as you go through interviews, same thing, but really starting to pull out what are the consistent areas that seem to be a gap for you, and not just the one-offs, but across multiple different roles is probably the first place I would focus.
Yeah, I was working with a client who is very analytical and he literally created a spreadsheet that like turned into a heat map. So like every time he saw a certain word on a job description or it came up in an interview, like he would mark it somehow. And it's almost like a word cloud, right? Like the more it showed up, like the brighter it showed up on his heat map or something. And but it was for him, it was really helpful because it can feel like, oh, it's a lot of things, or I feel like this came up all the time, but it actually only came up twice. So it allowed him
Yep,
to really kind of hone in on, oh, this really is, showing up in the word cloud bigger and bigger. I really should be tackling that more.
that sounds amazing. I do a very much more bare bones version of that, but with clients, like we have a spreadsheet where it's just like because there's a lot of people that we work with that are either making a full jump or like there's a tweak to the industry that they're looking to get into, and it's just like, okay, let's, before diving into and taking 5 different classes because you saw it in one job description, let's get a little bit of a sample size, look through the job descriptions, start to apply and have some conversations, and let's keep track of what's coming up and where you might want to focus your energy.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because everything's an investment, right? Whether it's time, money, just mental space and noise. So
Yep.
not only is it important to focus on the things that will actually have the return value of, oh, I'll be able to talk about this in most of my interviews. You also need to think about what kind of commitments can I make? Is it a free hour-long webinar because I just need to kind of be able to say that I can check the box? Or is it a real skill that I need to build and I need to consider investing into a certification or like some sort of course? Is it just a
Mhm.
conference I can go to? So it also helps you understand how much investment should I make into it based on how much I'm seeing it. Do I think how much of a hindrance is it? And then I can decide how much I want to invest in it, whatever that investment consists of.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Like just doing the job search alone is going to be we talk about it being a full-time job unto itself. So being precious about your time, being very calculated and intentional about what makes the most sense, thinking through what you're looking to get out of it and what the end result will be before you're diving into anything or, frankly, investing any money.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation come up with HR people that I've coached around, do I need an HR certification? Should I go back and get my master's? At times in my career, I have done both, but it was more because I felt like I wanted to fill in the gaps. So when I
Mhm.
was early in my HR career, I did a HR certification to sort of prove that I actually did know some HR stuff, even though that wasn't my background. And then I
Yep.
went back and got my master's because after working at a couple of roles or a couple of different companies, I wanted to better understand like the philosophy behind the decisions that were being made at companies. I
Mhm.
don't think either made or break my career, but it was helpful for me to feel more confident and better understand some of the things that I was doing. And that's how I sort of think about some of those bigger investments. But those things come up a lot, especially in roles like where, yes, if you're going to be a CPA, you have to get your CPA. Like that's something that has to happen. But in
Absolutely. Yep.
other roles, the certifications are nice, but not necessary. And how do you sort of think through some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak from being a recruiter and working with hiring managers and building out teams. Like, as long as someone can talk about it, and it's more, you're always more focused on the actual professional experience. So, just going out to get a bunch of things to throw on your resume because you think there'll be leverage points is not always necessarily the best strategy. And it's really, again, thinking through. How does it feed into what I'm looking to accomplish, and having some sort of like genuine connection to what you want to do with it before you go out and actually make the investment.